So I wanted to show this episode as early as we could because it is literally so simple. White piece of chalk, any dark paper will do. Dark grays, dark blues, probably like one of the best. A black marker and maybe a medium gray if you want to. It's so easy to do. It's so simple to do. What's going on, guys? Thanks for coming back for episode 2. Like I said in the beginning, this one is a lot of fun. It's super simple. White piece of chalk, 2 different color markers, one being almost like a black and one like a medium gray. Darker colored piece of paper. I'm going through this whole one with my fingers on time lapse, so just try to keep up. And all right, so basically we're gonna start out real quick, all right? This is such a simple drawing, really consists of about 3 layers. I'm gonna start by just take that white, pick a spot where your main light source is going to be. I usually do things a little bit off center. I don't like putting things right in the middle of a page. There's some design principles to that, but we'll get to that later. So anyway, so what I'm going to start doing here is just using my finger. I'm not using a paper towel on this one because I like the swirls that I get from it. And I'm almost just basically going to like branch out, kind of like this Medusa looking thing. All right, but I want to make sure I'm conserving some of that darker area. Right, like I'm going to preach that all the time. I use the darker paper because it's like one step ahead. You automatically have that color. So now, all right, what I did here is I darkened this up a little bit in the center, kind of fortifying my light source, because this is going to be like a moonlit picture. All right, so I'm going to take some of that then I just put on in the middle to darken up or brighten up that area, and then I'm going to kind of make some other separated little swirls. Don't be crazy about these. Don't get nuts. You don't have to really worry too much about what you're doing, but we're looking for that separation again. Conserve some of that dark. All right, again, I'm just being mindful of that, keeping my circles tight. Makes the bigger the circles, the closer those clouds are going to look to you. So I'm doing the same thing here. I'm just kind of picking up some, I'm doing a little bit. You don't have to add certain things. I kind of switched the way I was doing that right there, where I kind of like was using like more of like an arcing motion, but you can do that, mess around with it. One of the cool things about these two is that you can do 10 of them, all right, if you really want to, and just do them over and over again to get used to them. You'll have failures, you'll have some successes. So this one I'm doing right here is a little technique that, okay, you don't have to have like sweaty palms or anything to do this, but just the natural moisture that's on your hands is enough to pull off some of the chalk too. So you can use that to your advantage. I'll use it all the time. You'll see me doing it, and like I'll just try to peel off a little bit where I just want it to be a little bit darker. I didn't want as much saturation, but again, see that dark that I'm preserving in there? That means everything. All right. You'll hear me use this term all the time too. These are just like little hot spots that I do at the end sometimes. Not all the time. You don't have to do them all the time, but I just do them once in a while. Kind of just creates like another layer, another like bit of depth. Some heavy highlights where like, just those edges of those clouds are getting hit. All right, so get that cleaned up. Try to, blow off the page. Try to get as much of that excess chalk over. Since we do use the markers for silhouettes, you don't want to keep pulling all that off all the time. It'll really beat up your markers. So anyway, so here we go. Now what I'm thinking of, again, this is really simple, all right? This is like the view I get when I look out in my backyard. I have this big field and there's like a street off to the right. And I always see like the silhouette of like these houses and stuff. Now, you don't have to be super artistic to do this, all right? As long as you make these things look like something. See how I'm doing like the rooftops, and then I just kind of like, okay, well maybe this is a tree over here, and then I'm just moving along, and then here we'll do another rooftop and whatnot. Those straight lines and those angles automatically fool your brain to say, oh, there's a house over there. All right, you don't have to be perfect with it. The perspective is not perfect. It doesn't matter. Again, try these over and over again. You'll have failures, you'll have successes. So anyway, now this is something, I didn't do this in the original one that I did of this, but I thought this was kind of cool. again, these little shapes, these are power lines that it's just a familiar shape to you, and that silhouette makes, it just tricks your brain. Now I am messing with a little bit of perspective here, but again, this is pretty simple, guys. Things get smaller as they get further away from you. It's that simple. The trick to it is sometimes what you have to learn over time is how high your eye level is and how, where your point of view is in order to make it look correct. So another cool thing you'll see is that I'm going to throw in, define that moon a little bit better now that I got almost like there's a little bit of that light peering through that first layer. I faded those out a little bit. But what's cool is you can see the marker getting lighter as it absorbs into the paper and dries a little bit more. So I'm literally going to nail that moon right into place here. All right, so now again, that's our first layer established. This stuff's going to be into the background. We're going to do kind of like the same thing and give it a little bit more detail on another layer. And I'm using either a dark gray here, or I'm using one of my super black chart packs. This is the darkest marker you can get, really. Anything you can we'll use, but use one of the darkest one that you have. An 8 or a 9 dark gray works fine with this too. And again, I'm making these arbitrary shapes. Something that represents like a chimney, whatnot. I'm just going to fill this all in. And now we've set back that other layer again. Fill all this down. All right, and then we're going to throw in some of these little tiny details here and there. I'm going to work my way into getting some trees done here. And again, this dark black will just mix in and dry into the front layer immediately. So you're literally just making this silhouette of what's in front of you. And literally, guys, this is as easy as this drawing is. All right. Kind of going through a little technique here of how I make branches and stuff. Notice how I'm holding the pen. I hold it at the end. I really don't want to, I'm not putting much weight on it. It allows you to pull the weight off and allow the marker to just kind of flow. I can do it when I'm holding it closer, but it's definitely easier, especially if you're starting out to be on the back side of it. On the back side of that marker, take the weight off that front tip. And again, you can go back through these then too if you want to. I don't remember how much detail I put into this, but you can go into this later with a fine point pen, and really nail down a ton of branches if you really want to. I mean, there's tons of stuff that you can do in this. There's a Halloween time lapse that we have in the series that, I do all these little shadows and these silhouettes of a little cabin and trick-or-treaters and this grave digger in the backyard and owls in the trees. I mean, you can do all that stuff with one of these. Like I said, you can do so many of these just over and over and over again. And they make cool little pieces. Because when you see this one when it's all done, you're like, oh wow, I can kind of see. I'm just telling a little story. Again, looking out the backyard, throwing some of these in. I'm thinking about my composition. I'm not trying to hide all of that moon. But no, I mean, I could stop right now and call this one quits if I really, really wanted to. All I'm doing here is I just grab a piece of chalk that's relevant to the color of the paper that I'm using, just to kind of help fade that out so that line's not real ugly. I'm gonna crop it out of the picture anyway, but it just looks cooler anyway. I'm going through with my finer pen right now. Again, I tend to stay away from the thick point Sharpies. The fine tooth ones are great for this, but the thick ones are too reflective. And I could sit here and go through this drawing forever and keep making tons and tons and tons of detail to this. You guys put as much as you want into it, do as many of them as you want. I hope the idea of everybody sending in work and seeing what everybody does, especially with this one, would be a really cool starting point to really see what everybody's doing out there. But so go out in your backyard, check it out, see if you got some moonlight. It'll give you some good reference, just a good idea, and hit the paper, guys. All right. So, see you guys on next time at episode 3. As always, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for listening to us. You know the drill. Thanks, guys. See you soon. I ended up doing this one for like the first time maybe like a few years ago, because every time I go outside at night, and if the moon was in the right spot, it created like this silhouetted line of houses and trees with just this moonlit background. And it's just a cool, fun piece that you can do, like really small ones, and just do them over and over and over again. And every time that you do it, even though it isn't the same thing, they're always going to be different. And it helps. It gives you some chops, drawing some trees and stuff like that, and drawing tree branches and stuff. It's fun. Guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe button, like button, share it. We want to see the work that you guys are doing at home. Send it in to us, please. So we appreciate it. We appreciate the support. Subscribe, like it, share it. Message us at chalkitupmessages@gmail.com. You can DM us on IG too at chalkitup101. So thanks, guys. We appreciate it.